And good morning. Welcome to the second hour of the Chris McCarthy Show. Really happy that you chose to spend some time with us this morning. So we have a really interesting next hour. We're going to be discussing cannabis. As those of you who are regular listeners to the show, we've been discussing that, all aspects of it, really. But it's becoming a reality now. Before it was a concept, but it's really becoming a reality here in Massachusetts with the passing of the law. And you know, speaking in the last hour about the Cannabis Control Commission, how they made another blunder. But it is becoming a reality, and it is important that we do this right. And so I wanted to make sure that we got in people who know what they're doing, who have real knowledge in this, because it's not what it was 10 years ago, as I was just learning off the air. So we're going to be talking about folks from the marijuana industry, and I'll have them go through this with us, because it's all different aspects of it, and I think you're going to find this fascinating, even if you're opposed to the law. And we're going to concentrate on medical for the beginning, and then we'll get into the recreational aspect of it as well, and what goes on with it. But there's a lot of science here. So first of all, good morning. I have three folks in here, and if you want, you can look at us. We're on we'll be live on YouTube, streaming at the WBSM channel as well. So good morning, all of you. How are you?
Good morning.
All right.
How are you?
Good morning, Chris.
Great. So we have Peter, JoAnne, and Tim here in the studio with us. And what we'll do is we'll just go down and introduce yourself a little bit, talk about exactly what it is you do. Peter?
I make tincture and coconut oil under the name Howl's Tincture. I started as a patient myself, and I started making tincture for myself, and then since then, you know, more people have been wanting it, more patients, and as it helps them, I've developed it further to be just to keep serving the patients who need it.
What kind of things do people use it for?
Well, a wide variety. It's a lot of people for just their chronic pain.
Okay.
So whether it's small, regular pain that you have, it really takes the edge off without having to go to prescription, you know, pharmaceutical medications, all those side effects.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, more specific issues for fibromyalgia, or for people take it who are, you know, for nausea, for their cancer treatments. And a lot of people take it for sleep. There's 5 varieties, and one of them is a nighttime variety, which is very helpful for people who want to relax and then be able to sleep more easily.
And how does one get this into their system?
Well, there's a dropper.
Okay.
It's just avocado oil,
okay,
infused with the cannabis plant. So the whole plant is infused into it, and you take it by. You just take a dropper, like any, it's a small dropper, it's measured. You take the exact amount you want, you put it in your mouth, and then you swallow.
Okay. So it's just an oral thing, so
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really easy.
It's simple. You drop it in your mouth and swallow, and about 30 to 60 minutes later, you'll start to feel relief. And then it lasts 2 to 4 hours.
2 to 4 hours. So is this something someone needs a medical card for currently in Massachusetts?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll talk about how folks can get those medical cards here as the show goes along. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is JoAnne. JoAnne, talk a little bit about what you do with the marijuana industry.
Well, I've been doing this for 10 years, more than 10 years in Rhode Island. I'm a medical marijuana advocate in Rhode Island.
Okay.
So I've been working with patients for more than 10 years now.
Okay.
And what I'm doing at BASK is I'm in charge of patient services, which means mostly patient education.
Okay.
We get a lot of folks coming in who are new to cannabis. They don't know how to use it. And as you said, this is not what we experienced 10 years ago.
Actually, I stole that from you.
Well, good choice. Well, when I started in Rhode Island, it was all about, you know, trying to get cannabis. People smoked it, or once in a while someone would have a brownie or Rice Krispies or something like that. But now there are so many choices for patients. We have a lot of patients who don't wish to experience a psychoactive effect. So there are many products for them.
Not everyone, though.
No, not everybody. Not everyone at all. But we also have people who don't want to smoke.
Well, I was thinking that, right. Particularly
know?
if you have some sort of an ailment. Smoking's not good for you, really, generally, I don't think.
Well, and we have people who work so hard to stop smoking, they just don't want to put anything in their lungs ever again.
Right.
So they've got so many options right now between edibles, and Peter was describing his tinctures. They're wonderful. We've got sprays even. So that you can actually megadose, so that you can just spray it right into your mouth.
I saw that. I went on your website last night, to prepare for this interview, and I noticed you have all kinds of things. And I saw that this spray, it seemed to be extremely potent. Am I correct? Did I read that right?
Well, you actually microdose with it. Okay. So it's like 0.5 milligrams of THC per spray. Okay. But it absorbs better than other products do. So what you can do is you use it, you spray it, and you wait a few minutes to see how it's going to affect you before you use any more. Therefore, you're just medicating to the point where it's alleviating your symptoms, where it's going to help you. So sometimes you hear people say that they've had a reaction from cannabis, like maybe it made them paranoid or anxious or something like that. Right. Sometimes that can be a product of using too much.
We used to call it getting grabbed the wrong way.
Well, we call it over-medicating.
Okay.
So
the terms are changing, right? So I'm learning that too.
A little bit. So they can actually have more control over the dosage.
Super.
Is what that's all about.
And it's not how do I put this? It's not an uncomfortable way to get it into your system. So you're not smoking it. It's like spraying. It's like taking an asthma inhaler. Would I compare that to?
No, it's more like a breath spray.
Okay, breath spray.
Right.
Like Banaka.
Exactly. Or you can use it in a
Do
drink.
they still make Banaka?
I don't know. We're on the same wavelength, Tim, because I was thinking the same thing.
Haven't heard of it.
Well, and that's
I think you're dating yourself.
This is a Seinfeld episode.
So was it really? But on the other hand, we do have a lot of flower product. So for people who choose to smoke, we've got a wide range. We've got at least 17 strains right now, and some of them do have very high THC.
I noticed that
because, well, you find that some people need that.
Sure, right.
They actually need it for their pain or for whatever their medical condition is, and we have people coming in with all kinds of medical conditions. Chronic pain is probably the most common ailment, and some people with do you know about CBDs? Do you know?
Nope. Tell us.
CBD, you know.
If I don't know, the audience doesn't know either, so please tell us.
Well, that's one of the compounds in the cannabis plant.
So there's THC, which is the psychoactive one, and this is
CBD.
Okay, which is
it's really important for the healing process, but it also tends to counteract the psychoactive effects of the THC.
Okay.
So having a product high in CBD may offset psychoactive effects. So when you talk about CBDs, you know the children with seizures and Sanjay Gupta, and you remember he did his presentation. That is about CBD products where it's not going to have much of it's not going to have a psychoactive effect at all, but it will calm the body and it will prevent seizures. So some people choose to use a combination of CBD and THC, and that's what works best for them.
Excellent.
So
excellent.
And I wanted to add to that because CBD has gotten a lot of attention lately, but there are dozens of cannabinoids, what they're called, THC, CBD, CBG, CBN. A lot of them aren't studied, but I think it's important for people who are looking for medicine to look for products that have that full spectrum of benefits in them, because a lot of the products out there are where they use these industrial methods now where they strip out the THC in order to give people the highest, most concentrated psychoactive effect. And then it doesn't have all these other benefits that are in the plant that are really medically valuable. Okay. And so when JoAnne talks about how CBD is helpful, THC is helpful, but just really I advise people when they're looking for products, look for ones that are called full spectrum, that have the whole medicinal value.
Okay, excellent. And our last guest, last but not least, is Tim Keogh. Tim, talk a little bit about what you do in your experience with the industry.
Sure. So I'm a board member at BASK, which is the registered marijuana dispensary. Real close to that. Which the medical marijuana dispensary here in Fairhaven.
And where is that located?
We're just up off the intersection or the corner of Alden Road and Pequod Road.
The old lottery building.
It's the old lottery building, as the locals refer to it. We've often get phone calls and explain to us, where are you at? And we give directions and the address, and then somebody eventually says, "Is that the old lottery building?" And say, "Yeah, of course it is." Yeah. So we took over that building about 4 years ago. Got it permitted and approved with the town of Fairhaven. And have designed and developed what's called a co-located facility. So inside of the 10,000 square foot building, we're growing medically grade cannabis under a pesticide-free, clean environment. We're processing that into products, and that's our partnership with Howl's, making tincture. We've got on the menu topicals, transdermal patches, salves, vape cartridges. So a whole catalog of products, as you saw on the website.
Yeah, the website's fantastic.
We update the menu pretty regularly. So that's all happening, at 2 Pequot Road, and we've got people that drive by there every day and really not sure what's happening inside of the building. So it's
we're there. Near the pasta house.
There and waiting. So you've been growing marijuana quite a long time?
Yeah. So
how'd you get into it?
We started in Fairhaven in July, when we finally got fully certified and approved. Prior to that, the team had extensive experience down in the Rhode Island medical marijuana program, where we were caregivers, cultivating and processing products on behalf of patients under that program. And during that process of transitioning from Rhode Island back to Massachusetts under the BASK banner, and formerly known as Coastal Compassion.
Okay.
There's some, I think, familiarity with that name as we went through the application process, and then recently rebranded prior to opening as BASK. So that process and that application program, has really been running since about 2013, 2014. During the course of that, I was actually recruited. So a guy from the South Coast, grew up in Marion, lived in Mattapoisett, was recruited by a company based in Denver called AmeriCann, which is a publicly traded company.
Sure, I've heard that name.
Yep,
Yeah.
Trades on the over-the-counter under the symbol ACAN. So AmeriCann is a real estate development company focused on the cannabis industry. Initially, we approached them as BASK, looking for a partner to assist us, and then that turned into me being recruited. So I'm actually the CEO of AmeriCann.
Okay.
We moved out to Denver and went into kind of the Silicon Valley, or the epicenter of the cannabis industry. And when the guys said we want to do large-scale greenhouse projects, I stuck my hand up in a meeting one day and said, I know where there's 50 acres of land in Massachusetts that's got a by right zoning use for medical marijuana activity. And the board said, go get it.
Okay. And that was?
That was in early January of 15.
Okay.
So we began to sit down with the town of Freetown, brought in our horticultural team and our staff there to master plan and develop what we've put together now, which is a 52 acres. We've got 977,000 square feet of permitted infrastructure that we can put onto the site. We're building the first phase, which is a 30,000 square foot cultivation and processing facility, and that BASK is our preferred partner here in Massachusetts, where they'll be expanding their cultivation from 2 Pequot Road into the first phase of the Massachusetts Medical Cannabis Center, which is being developed by AmeriCann.
Excellent, excellent. Folks, we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, I want to find out, probably a lot of you listening are saying, I'd like to try this for I have illnesses, I have chronic pain, but you're unfamiliar with how to get a medical marijuana card. I think these folks can point us in the right direction there, and we'll continue with this conversation. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the program. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris McCarthy. We're not taking phone calls today because it's just too unwielding for me to handle all that here. But I have three wonderful, very intelligent, experienced guests in here. We're talking about medical marijuana. We're going to talk about recreational marijuana. We're going to talk about how they grow it, the quality control, and the ways that you can get it and get involved in it. But before we left for the break, I was mentioning that these folks currently are doing medical marijuana because recreational doesn't come online until a little while.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally the three of us sitting here all got involved in the cannabis industry based on, a desire to help patients.
Right.
And I think certainly Peter can talk. We can all talk about our personal anecdotes about how we got involved.
Yeah.
But, the focus was providing access to people that can benefit from it.
Right.
And under the medical program, which passed, on the ballot in 2012, Department of Public Health promulgated regulations in 2013, and then the application process has got us to a point in Massachusetts where we've got about almost 50,000 certified and registered patients in the Commonwealth. There are 24 storefronts that are currently open. More are expected to open prior to the opening of the adult use market in July, primarily focused on servicing medical patients.
Okay.
So the process works in Massachusetts. You're a patient or potential patient. You need to go to a registered certified physician to get an approval or a certification or a recommendation to access cannabis.
Okay.
And I think JoAnne can talk about the nuances of that. At that point, then they would register with the Department of Public Health, have that match up with their physician's recommendation, and they get a card. And at the facility at BASK here in Fairhaven, in order to gain access into the building right now, you have to have a medical marijuana card.
Oh, that's important to tell people then.
Right,
So you just can't go knock. It's not like you can't walk into 7-Eleven. It's not like a 7-Eleven. You have
Correct.
to have a card. Okay, great.
It's just like the camera and the buzzer here at the door. We have the same technology. So you hit the button. You've got to show your ID. One of our patient experts just visually examines that. When they check in, we buzz them into the building. We then run them through the state database. So we confirm that their certification is actually current and valid, that they haven't purchased more than their 60-day supply. And if all of that checks out and they have a valid form of ID, we then provide them access into the dispensary.
Okay. And how does one get a medical marijuana card?
Well, the first place to start is your own physician.
Okay.
Really.
And did any physician do it? Or
they have to register with the health department. They have to, they have to take a SAME course, register with the health department. Not every doctor has done that.
Okay.
So, but the first place to start is with your doctor, because your doctor is the one who's aware of your condition, who knows what you've been through, who knows what's not working for you. If that doesn't work for one reason or another, if your doctor's not registered with the health department, then you can go to a clinic. But as a matter of fact, we're having an event on May 20th.
May 20th.
May 20th, which is a Sunday.
Okay.
At the Fairfield Inn, is it?
Yeah.
On the harbor in New Bedford?
Yep, exactly, yeah.
It's going to start at 11 o'clock. And if people go to our website, they can get more information about it. Because
that's the BASK website?
That's a BASK website.
Okay.
And we will be doing an educational forum there.
Go ahead.
ComeToBask.com.
Thank you. ComeToBask.com. Easy to remember. Yeah. So if people come to that event, they can learn more about what our dispensary is about, learn more about how to use cannabis. Peter's going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Talk about his tinctures and the different ways you can use cannabis, what it's all about. And also there will be medical evaluations available right there so that someone will be able to see a physician. They should make an appointment ahead if they're interested in doing that. But if they go to our website, which is ComeToBask.com, then they can get that information.
Excellent. So this will be May 20th.
May 20th.
In New Bedford at the Fairfield, which is the new hotel down by the, relatively new, I guess now, down by the waterfront.
Well, I was just going to talk about, the experience of being a patient.
Please.
And because for me, I first became a patient in Rhode Island, but when I was first recommended to me to use cannabis after I have an eye condition and had a surgery that had some resulting pain that was ongoing. And I'm also a professional. I've worked in the entertainment industry for 20 years. I'm responsible for large productions, touring concerts, and the combination of the pain and I started having anxiety about being able to do my job.
Did you ever work with Frank Zappa?
I wish, but I get told that I look like him.
No, that's not why I said
We
that.
have the same birthday also, actually,
really?
December 21st,
weird.
the winter solstice.
That's weird. How did I know that? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But I've worked with OK Go and Wilco and NPR Music, those kind of things where, large productions I was responsible for. And so, and I work in the entertainment industry. So, of course, I've been around people smoking pot. And I work in California a lot. And so, years ago, every year I'd go to California and work. And someone would, be at a party, I'd get a joint, smoke, every year, like, a hit would have bigger impact. And finally, one year I took a hit and I was like, I can't do this. It's so strong and it's too much.
You got grabbed the wrong way.
Yeah, and it just, I couldn't trust it. And then, so then when someone recommended I try cannabis to manage my issues, and they said, well, what about tincture? They had a little homemade tincture, and I got a little bit. And I realized that I could control the experience, control the relief by taking an exact amount. And then every time I would take it, I would have the same amount of relief. So I could take just the right amount to get to the point where I felt the relief from my pain and the anxiety went away, and I could do my job. I have a kid, I can't be blasted.
Right.
So that was when I came back to Rhode Island and I got a medical card, and they didn't have tincture. They just had these flowers at the dispensary and didn't know much.
When you say flowers, tell people.
Flowers is what you smoke. Yeah. If you've gotten on the black market, it's what people call weed.
Yeah.
It
goes right over people's head.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard flowers before people say it. I'm going, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's the flower of the plant, which I think is a great thing for people to realize. This is a plant. It's a plant medicine, and it comes from nature. And it actually, the things that benefit us medically, we have receptors in our body that just fit like Lego pieces with what's in the plants. We've evolved together. So I've learned a lot about that since starting this.
Sure.
The prohibition and the stigma has prevented people from understanding all of that. But that's, the last 70 years. This plant has been used for medicine documented for 5,000 years.
I have a regular caller who's kind of an evangelist for this, and he uses it. He uses it to help himself to chronic pain, get off opiates, a variety of things. And I've learned a lot from him telling me things on the radio. I trust him, and he hasn't told me anything wrong yet so far. And then I go out and, sometimes, as you're learning something new, you go out and you look at it and research it because it's interesting, and so that's what you found as a patient, right?
Yeah. And then once I found that I could control by making the tincture, and over time, other patients relied on it or were asking me for it. So I started, I made a label so it was very clear how to use it. And how much to use to dose properly, lab tested twice to make sure the potency in every drop is the same, because that's a big thing for people. For me as a professional and as a parent, I need to be able to take an amount where the relief would be appropriate without it impacting my ability to, take care of my kid or to work. And that was a huge benefit for me. And that's a big difference, I think, being a patient from a medical perspective versus someone looking for an adventure from psychoactive effect.
And what's the name of your product?
It's Howl's Tincture.
Would you say it's simple, consistent, and pure?
Yes, that's the bottom line. It's simple. You just drop it in your mouth. It's consistent, same potency every drop. So every time you take it, the same relief if you take the same amount. And then it's pure. It's just got, besides the cannabis, which is grown pesticide-free, as clean as possible at BASK, it's also just got 2 organic ingredients, made avocado and sunflower.
Excellent.
So
go ahead, JoAnne.
One of the fascinating things about this field is there's always something new every day. And one thing that's been so incredibly amazing is watching the response from the patients who use our medicine. And there's a stereotype notion of people use marijuana and they get stupid or they get kind of, stoned.
Right.
And I've got to tell you.
Thanks, Cheech and Chong.
The way this medicine works can be absolutely the opposite. People are using it to actually get stuff done, to be creative, to clean their houses. We've got one strain in particular. Soon after we had just opened, people started coming back for repeat visits, and they'd say, "I've got to get me some of that lemon Jeffrey again." And I'd say, "Oh, how did you do with it?" "I cleaned my house." I'd say, "What? You cleaned your house?" And
really?
I swear to God, like 4 women in a row came in and said that. So I said, we have cannabis. It's getting people to clean their house. Yes, it was very gender specific. So when I would ask gentlemen how they responded to it, they would say, you know, I cleaned up the backyard.
All right, here we go.
Now, these are chronic pain patients for the most part. So whatever's happening with that is allowing them to get more active, to engage in things, to, you find that often people are more sociable. They actually become better parents, because when people are in a state of pain and they are in agony, they are often not at their best. They don't often feel like engaging with small children, for instance. And what you find is that people actually can get more active and more engaged and become better all-around, you know, family members.
Sure. Look, people literally kill themselves over chronic pain. I mean, it's, you know, they literally kill themselves over, or they have to take opioids at a higher and higher level, which has all kinds of detrimental effects, as we know. I'm not even going to touch the addiction, but just all kinds of detrimental effects on your body.
So many people I know that would not be alive if not for this medicine, because, you know, we have watched people get through grueling chemotherapy, which they wanted to quit because it was just too much. But if they could get through it because they can get some relief from the side effects, then they're there.
Get some sleep, get their appetite back.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
you know, the sleep is the biggest piece that I think.
You find that to be one of the key pieces?
I think that, you know, like from my perspective, and obviously I think we're unpacking a lot of what's inside the plant, and I think somewhat of a kind of shotgun manner at this stage, just given the nature of the federal and the state regulations and what we're able to do and what type of research we have access to. But, you know, if we just look at from a quality of life improvement standpoint, you know, cannabis is, you know, just a tremendous plant, providing increase, just as JoAnne kind of laid out, family members, you know, so it doesn't just benefit the patient, it's the patient's family, their children, and then larger into the community. So there's a lot just getting done with what we're doing out of our facility here at BASK, and it's only going to increase. I think we're starting to see more and more of kind of a things that are looking more biotech-y, where we're kind of diving into some of the cannabinoids that Peter had mentioned, and, you know, I think unpacking, you know, solutions for conditions in a very specific manner, and it's exciting.
And the sleep issue is huge. My doctor said to me years ago, he said, you know, most everyone you work with has a sleep disorder, right? And I said, what? And he goes, of course. If you're living with that kind of chronic pain, if you're living with that kind of medical, chances are you're not sleeping well. So when I work with patients, that's one of the first things I have them focus on. Let's focus on getting you a good night's sleep. Because once you can sleep, and I cannot tell you how many people have come in and said, I slept for the first time in 5 years.
Right.
I had a good night's sleep. I haven't had a good night's sleep in 10 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is probably the most common feedback that I get.
Look, we know that taking people's sleep away is a key component to torturing someone, or to increasing. I remember when I was in the Army, they'd say, we can't shoot live bullets at you, so we'll just take your sleep away because it'll increase your stress level so much higher. It'll simulate, at some point, it'll simulate the stress effect of combat. Not completely, obviously, but lack of sleep is an incredible thing. And what you're saying is that that's the first thing you recommend.
That's the first thing I address with patients, because once you do that, everything gets better.
And that's what, I mean, I think JoAnne has such a wealth of experience with 10 years of talking with patients. And I think that's why it's, you know, and that was my experience. I started with just one type of tincture. And then after, you know, once it grew into being in a dispensary in Rhode Island and hundreds of people started using it, I just listened to what people said. And the big thing was they wanted something either that could, you know, rest and sleep. So so then I started making something that would be helpful for nighttime. Or people want to be able to clean and do work during the day. And so making something daytime, just very simple.
Give your website so people
it's just howls.com, HOWLS.com.
Oh, cool. And so I'm looking here at a piece of your literature. You have 5 different types?
Yeah, there's 5 types. The three of them are just daytime, nighttime, and anytime. Okay. So it's a very easy choice, you know, because actually the broadest spectrum of patients in my experience, those are they've had an experience with cannabis before, and it either knocked them out when they wanted to stay up during the day, or it kept their mind going while they were trying to sleep. So this is just an easy way to choose which one to use at the right time of day.
We're speaking with the folks from BASK and Howl's Tincture about cannabis and what it can do for you in the medical aspect. We're going to talk a little bit more about the recreational in a moment after we come back from the break. But they're having an event again. Where and when? It
is Fairfield, the Fairfield Inn in New Bedford, May 20th. That's a Sunday. Please go to our website.
And go to the website, which is?
ComeToBASK.com.
ComeToBASK.com. And you folks, I encourage you, if you're suffering from chronic pain, as we've talked about here, it's a real problem, and this may work for you. It may work for you. It seems to have worked for a lot of people, including one of our guests here. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, good morning. Welcome back to the second hour of the Chris McCarthy Show. So glad you joined us. We've had a fascinating discussion. We're going to continue it here with three folks from who are associated with BASK, and their website is cometobask.com. I want to talk about the growing, how the conditions that you grow it under and what you do to make quality control and that stuff. Please, Tim.
Yeah, sure. So we're growing at the facility here in Fairhaven. The whole building is 10,000 square feet. So we've got about 6,000 square feet dedicated for cultivation and processing. So inside of that facility, we create a clean room environment. Because we don't use any pesticides, we run an exclusion program, what we call integrated pest management. And so there are air curtains and sticky curtains that people have to walk through. There's changing rooms, so there's no outside clothes that it's allowed into the grow area. We keep everything under a really tight control because we don't have any defense through pesticides to fight off, right? So if we were growing cucumbers or tomatoes in a greenhouse environment, we would have all manner of pesticides and fungicides that we could use to fight outbreaks within that facility. But because we're growing cannabis and medicine, and we don't use any of those, we have to, really run a very tight program. So if you were to come for a tour, you'd put on a Tyvek suit, we'd rubber glove you. I mean, and all the staff wear rubber gloves.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget the hairnet.
We're hairnets, beard nets. So almost
beard nets.
Food safe, food grade protocols for the facility. And within that, we're growing these plants in an indoor environment. And so we're controlling to exact specifications the temperature, the humidity, the CO2 levels, the airflow to essentially mimic the ideal conditions for plant growth.
So this is a lot different than the attic in my fraternity
That's
house. Right?
correct.
Okay,
right.
Right.
Like we give kind of the example of bathtub gin production versus a brewery, right, or a distillery that meets food grade products that can get onto a shelf. That's kind of the comparison.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that your products contain no pesticides.
Correct. Right. And so we grow the plants. So we're fully vertically integrated in the whole license. We started everything from seed. We're now identified our genetics, and so we're propagating through cloning, and we're looking at tissue culture down the road. But so we can mimic and grow repeatably on a perpetual harvest. So we're harvesting every week. We're taking down a section of the cultivation facility, cleaning that area, replanting it with new genetics, and it's this perpetual harvest cycle that happens in this very clean environment. We dry that product, and then we send it out to a third-party laboratory that does a full battery of testing. Okay. So they're looking at, are there pesticides on this plant material? Is there mold or microbials, heavy metals, yeast? So they run through this full battery of tests. If it passes, we also then run a cannabinoid test, and that helps identify the level of THC, CBD, CBG, CBN, the full spectrum of what's in that specific plant material. It is a plant, and the plant produces a flower. That flower is what we harvest, trim, dry, and send out to be tested. We can either sell that as flower on the shelves, or as marijuana or bud or whatever name you want to call it.
Right.
It's a flower.
Right.
Or we take that and we essentially extract the cannabinoids off of that plant material.
Just one second. As I'm listening to you, because this just occurred to me, I'm thinking, if someone's listening to this, they may want to get into this business or maybe come to work for you folks. Are you hiring people?
Yeah, so we occasionally will post available positions on Indeed. We've been using it as a job board. We've been kind of overwhelmed by the flood of applications and resumes that are coming to the door. It's a little disruptive, when we've got patients coming in and out. And so we've set up an account on Indeed. So when we do have positions, we are posting it. We are just now going to link that up to our website so that people that are looking to enter the industry can get on. Indeed does have a number of jobs that are available at some of the other dispensaries in addition to ours. So it is a good place a good resource for people that are looking to get into the industry.
So you're saying, what I think you're saying very diplomatically is, don't come down and knock on the door. That's not how we handle it. Go to Indeed.com. That's where
we try to do it that way.
Yeah.
And we've got a stack of resumes,
sure.
And we're running a lean entrepreneurial startup, and right. We're trying to find whatever technology we can bring in to help us work through that.
Go ahead, Pierre.
I was going to add to a couple of things Tim said, just starting at the end. A beautiful thing about this industry growing now and it being something that has a lot of value for people, it's both as medicine, but I also think it's an opportunity for people to have good jobs and to have production jobs. There's all sorts of different kinds of labor where you can become skilled and you can start at the beginning, and that's a really exciting part of the industry as a whole. Being sustainable for people, both as a medicine that people and as a industry where there are jobs created. Mm-hmm. And then just to add to what Tim said about the quality, the pesticide-free, the testing they do on the flowers, we take that flower which has been totally tested and as clean as can be, and then once in terms of making the tincture, similarly high standards, and when the tincture is done, it's also tested to make sure there's no mold, no pesticides, no metals. So it's redundantly tested to be as clean as possible. The ingredients are all organic, already certified. And I think that's, as we move into recreational, or even as there's medical dispensaries and producers who are really, eyeing recreational as their goal, those standards aren't everywhere. And I think it's important for patients to recognize that BASK has those high quality standards, Howl's has those standards. And when they ask anywhere they go to say, are you making your product, especially processed things, edibles, tinctures, is this coming from butane industrial process? Which
yours is not.
Ours is not.
Right.
Ours is just the way they've been doing it for 5,000 years. Tested by humans all that time, directly infused into avocado oil. Chinese emperor mentioned it 5,000 years ago. and then since then similar accounts. And so
but you're also using modern.
Yeah, exactly. We have precision temperature, precision
nets.
We do all the food grade, all sanitization standards, all up to health code with the laboratory testing, and we brought it into the modern area with that. And I mean, my process involves really precision temperature control and agitation and duration, all those things that they couldn't do 1,000 years ago, and that allows it to be infused with the maximum amount of the benefits. But that's just, I think it's something people should really think about, because the attempt to exploit the psychoactive elements can result in some practices that aren't great. And so being thoughtful about what you choose.
Sure. It's going into your body.
It's going into your body. Yeah.
JoAnne, at the break we were talking off the air about the differences. Maybe people are holding out, not getting a medical card right now because it's all going to be recreational, and I'll just be able to do it. But I want you to talk about the differences, if you could.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on what Peter said also. If you're getting cannabis from just anywhere, one of the problems that you have is about dosing and about knowing what you're getting. I mean, aside from what might be in it, pesticides and other scary things, patients who come in who've used before, but they don't know what they're using, so they don't know how to repeat it because they don't know what it is. So how do you get it again?
Tough to find that guy at the basketball court the following day.
Yeah, it can be hard. And also, and that's where sometimes people will use too much of a product, especially with edibles. That happens a lot. So then people get scared off, or they're using it and they get all mixed up about what cannabis really is. But if you can come into a place, purchase a product, know how to dose it, get the information that you need about it, find the product that works for you, and then know where to get it and be able to get it consistently so that you can get better. And you can have that, quality of life improvement again. So one of the things we're hearing about is recreational's coming. So a lot of people don't really feel like, well, why bother to get a card? Why go through all that? Oh, well, there is a reason, because a lot of people think that July 1st, everything's going to change and there's going to be, cannabis sold on street, legally. Street carts or something, I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be that simple. I don't. Most cities and towns are holding back. They have moratoriums. There aren't going to be a lot of shops across the land opening on July 1st, and so why wait? Because really, for local area, there's no date certain that when it's really going to happen. So it could be far off, and why suffer in the meantime?
Right.
Did you want to say anything else about that?
No, I mean, so I think there's the kind of why wait component to it, but also there's a tax piece to it.
Sure.
There's a
explain that to me.
23% tax on recreational product, assuming the community that the dispensary is located in has adopted the 3% local option, and then the 3% host community agreement.
And they have,
and on top of the 17% tax. So there's that piece. We do anticipate shortages, across the board. I mean, there's pretty limited infrastructure currently in Massachusetts. It's going to take a while for that recreational market to mature. But, on July 1, this kind of magic date where the program, as the chairman said, will start, it doesn't mean that there's going to be all 24 of the existing medical dispensaries are going to be able to just walk up and show an ID. I know here in Fairhaven, there's a moratorium in place. We're going to work with the town to, kind of make sense of what the zoning bylaws could look like. But that runs through the end of December.
But just so people understand, Tim, you're talking about on recreational moratorium, but if someone has a medical card, they can go to your place today.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's correct. Right. We're currently open servicing patients. We're open 6 days a week.
And where are we?
The old lottery building.
The old lottery building.
Pequot Street?
Yeah, Pequot Road.
Pequot Road.
Yeah.
Pequot Road, right off Alden Road.
It was really funny. Soon after we opened, a gentleman came in and he said, I just got to tell you, this is kind of weird, because the last time I was in this building, I was here to pick up some money from the lottery, and now I'm here to get my cannabis. I'm just saying it's weird, that's all. It's a happy weird. It's a good weird.
Yeah, people who have their medical cards, it's like they won the lottery.
Yeah. And so you're having this event, and we're going to take a quick break, but we'll tell you about the event. Just where is it? What time? What day?
And just to clarify, so Medwell Health is the company that's organizing the event.
Thank you.
And BASK is going to speak at the event.
Okay.
So it's down at the Waypoint Center at the Fairfield Inn.
That's the event center in the back of the Fairfield Inn.
Okay.
Yep, in New Bedford. It's on Sunday. There was a similar program that we did in April. We probably had
with Medwell.
Yeah, through Medwell. You know, and it's just a great information session. If you've got questions, if you've been thinking about, you know, maybe I should get a card or maybe cannabis could help me, you know, you're going to have a whole
we'll be
kind
there.
of army of educated staff members and people there that
and medical
from
people
the industry
who can
right.
advise you. All right,
yes.
we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, good morning. It's almost noontime. We don't have much time left. We're going to race through this real quick. Peter, just tell us again what your product exactly is and how people can learn more about it.
Okay, well, Howl's Tincture is just avocado oil infused with cannabis. You drop it in your mouth, you swallow, and you get relief.
It's an eyedropper, right, basically?
It's like an eyedropper. Yeah, exactly. And it's measured, so you know exactly how much you're taking. And if you go to howls.com, you can sign up to our mailing list and you'll get more information and you'll be in discounts.
Which he assures me he did not have to buy from the Allen Ginsberg estate.
JoAnne?
JoAnne.
Yes? What am I talking about? Please come to BASK.
Please come to BASK. And you're there to help people explain the products and what
I'm there to explain the products. Nobody should ever use cannabis without knowing what they're getting and how to use it. So my job is to make sure that when people leave there, they know what they have, they know how to use it, and we've ascertained that it's probably the best product for them to start with.
All right, great. And Tim, you think things are going well here in Fairhaven?
Yep, I think we're BASK is building a good business, and you know, if I'll put my AmeriCann hat on and talk about, the opportunities out in Freetown. Certainly an exciting opportunity as one of the only publicly traded companies that has, close proximity and direct exposure to the Massachusetts market right now, with BASK being open and being one of our preferred partners.
And what's your website?
AmeriCann with 2 N's.co.
And it's cometobask.com.
Yes, cometobask.com.
All right. Hey, folks, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful educational experience. I think everyone really enjoyed it today, learning a lot about it. We talk about it a lot on the radio, but now we had some experts here. And if you're interested, go check out their website, check out the event they're doing. Folks, well, listen, I'm out of here. It's the end of the day for me already. 2 hours, fastest 2 hours in radio. Quickest job I ever do. Barry will be in for the next hour. The mayor's not in this afternoon. He'll be in tomorrow, Thursday, with Barry. But Barry's going to be here taking your calls at 508-996-0500. Hey, have a wonderful day. I enjoyed it. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., God willing. Have a great day.